Sometimes we don't understand why certain people leave our lives. We sit there questioning, wondering what we did wrong, what changed, or why someone who once seemed so close suddenly became distant. But let me tell you something. God doesn't just allow people to walk away for no reason. He removes them to protect you. See, when we pray for guidance, when we ask God to take us to the next level, we don't always realize that not everyone around us is meant to go with us. Some people are distractions, some are roadblocks, and some are just there for a season, not a lifetime. But because we get attached, because we start to rely on them, we don't want to let go. So what does God do? He steps in and does what we wouldn't. He removes them, not to punish us, not to hurt us, but to shield us from what we can't yet see. Think about it like this. You're driving on a road, and up ahead there's a massive hole that you can't see. Wouldn't you want someone to reroute you? Wouldn't you want to be redirected before you drive straight into danger? That's what God does with people in your life. He sees what's ahead when you can't. He knows the intentions of people, even when their words sound right, even when they smile in your face. And when he sees that someone is not meant to go any further with you, he removes them. Now, I know it doesn't always feel like protection. Sometimes it feels like pain, losing people you cared about, people you trusted, people you thought were in your corner. It hurts. But that's because we don't see the full picture in the moment. We only see the absence, the space they left behind. What we don't see is what God was saving us from. We don't see the conversations they had behind our backs, the jealousy that was hidden behind their smiles, or the way they would have held us back from stepping into our purpose. And here's the truth. If some people had stayed in your life, you wouldn't be where you are right now. There are things you wouldn't have accomplished, lessons you wouldn't have learned, blessings you wouldn't have received. Because some people were never meant to be part of your destiny, only your journey. And when their time is up, God moves them so that you can move forward. But too often we resist. Instead of trusting that God knows best, we try to hold on to people he's already taken away. We chase after friendships that have already faded. We mourn relationships that were never built on solid ground to begin with. And in doing so, we slow ourselves down. We block our own blessings because we refuse to accept what God is doing. You've got to trust that when someone walks away, when a connection ends, it's because God is making room for something better. He never removes without replacing. And sometimes the greatest protection comes in the form of rejection. That job you didn't get, maybe it would have drained you or led you away from your true purpose. That relationship that fell apart, maybe it would have kept you in a cycle of pain and stagnation. That friend who betrayed you, maybe God was showing you their true colors before they could do even more damage. God sees what you don't. He hears the conversations you don't. He knows the plans people have that they never speak out loud. And when he removes someone, it's because he's making room for something greater. But you've got to be willing to let go. You've got to trust that your future is bigger than your past, that the people who truly belong in your life won't have to be forced to stay. So stop chasing what God has already released. Stop crying over what he has already replaced. Start trusting that every removal, every closed door, every unexpected ending is all part of his divine protection. Because what's ahead of you, it's far greater than anything you had to leave behind. Have you ever walked into a room and just felt something was off? Maybe you couldn't put your finger on it, but the air felt heavy, the vibe wasn't right, and deep down, your spirit was telling you that something wasn't adding up. That's not just intuition, that's discernment. That's God giving you a sign. Because here's the truth, energy never lies. People can say all the right things, smile at you, shake your hand, and even call you a friend, but their energy will always reveal who they really are. We live in a world where people wear masks. They show you what they want you to see, they play the role that benefits them, and they pretend to be in your corner when in reality, they are only there to take what they can get. But no matter how well someone acts, no matter how much they try to disguise their true intentions, their energy will always tell the truth. Have you ever been around someone and for no logical reason, you just felt drained? Like the conversation wasn't even deep, but somehow by the time you left, you were exhausted. That's not a coincidence. That's your spirit recognizing something that your mind hasn't caught up to yet. Because some people don't come into your life to pour into you, they come to take. They feed off your kindness, your wisdom, your presence, but they don't give anything back, and eventually their energy exposes them. On the other hand, think about the people who, just by being around them, make you feel lighter. The ones who uplift you, encourage you, and speak life into you. That's energy too. That's the difference between real and fake, between those who are truly meant for you and those who are just passing through. God gives us discernment for a reason, but the problem is too often we ignore it. We convince ourselves that we're overthinking, that we're being too sensitive, that we should just give people the benefit of the doubt. And while yes, we should always lead with love, that doesn't mean we should be blind to what's right in front of us. If you constantly feel uneasy around someone, if their words and their actions don't match, if something deep inside you keeps telling you that something isn't right, trust that. That's not paranoia, that's protection. But here's where we make mistakes. Instead of accepting the truth that energy reveals, we try to change people. We hold on, hoping that if we love them enough, if we support them enough, if we keep giving them chances, they'll become the person we want them to be. But energy doesn't lie, and neither do patterns. A person who constantly drains you, belittles you, or makes you question your worth is showing you who they are. It's up to you to listen. It's not about judging people, it's about protecting your peace. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your life, just because of history, just because of loyalty, or just because you see their potential. Potential is dangerous because it makes us fall in love with a version of someone that might never exist. Look at what they're showing you now, in the present. Their words might be sweet, but what does their energy say? We have to stop ignoring the signs. We have to stop excusing bad vibes just because we don't want to deal with the reality of what they mean. Because the longer you allow someone with bad energy in your space, the more it affects you. Negativity is contagious. Just like being around someone who radiates joy can lift your spirit, being around someone who is always negative, always gossiping, always stirring up drama, that will start to seep into you too. So pay attention. Watch how people make you feel. Watch how your spirit reacts in their presence. You don't need a long list of reasons to walk away from something that doesn't sit right with you. Your energy, your discernment, your peace, that's reason enough. God will always give you signs. He will always show you who is for you and who isn't. But it's up to you to listen. Because at the end of the day, words can lie, smiles can be fake, apologies can be empty. But energy never lies. Life has a way of shaking things up when we least expect it. One day everything seems to be going well, and the next we're hit with challenges that test us in ways we never imagined. It could be losing a job, going through a breakup, dealing with sickness, or just feeling lost in life. These are the moments that truly define us. But they also define the people around us. Because when you go through trials, when life knocks you down, that's when you find out who your real friends are. Anybody can be there when things are good, when you're winning, when you have something to offer, when life is treating you well. People will surround you, they'll laugh with you, celebrate you, and call you their friend. But the moment you hit a rough patch, the moment you no longer have something to give, that's when the truth comes out. Some people disappear. Some stop answering your calls. Some suddenly become too busy. And some, they start showing sides of themselves you never thought existed. See, trials don't just test your strength, they test your relationships. When you struggle, when you suffer, when you don't have the energy to entertain or please people, you start seeing who is really for you. Because real friends don't run when times get hard. Real friends don't switch up when you're no longer at your best. Real friends don't just show up for the good times. They stay for the hard times too. Think back to a time when you were struggling. Who was there, not just in words, but in actions? Who checked in on you, not because they wanted something, but because they genuinely cared? Who sat with you in your pain without rushing you to get over it? Those people, the ones who stayed, the ones who supported you when you had nothing to give in return, those are your real friends. And sometimes it takes going through the fire to see that. It's easy to mistake company for friendship. Just because someone is around you doesn't mean they're for you. Just because someone laughs with you doesn't mean they'll cry with you. Just because someone celebrates you doesn't mean they'll comfort you. The people who are loudest in the good times aren't always the ones who will stand with you in the bad times. But trials reveal the truth. And I know it hurts when you realize that someone you thought was a friend was only there for convenience. It's painful to see people you once trusted turn their backs on you when you need them most. But understand this, when God allows people to walk away during your hardest times, He's not punishing you, He's protecting you. He's revealing who was never really meant for you in the first place. He's clearing out the ones who were only there for what they could take, not what they could give. Real friendship is not about proximity, history, or even shared experiences. It's about loyalty. It's about love. It's about showing up, even when there's nothing to gain. And if someone can't be there when you're at your lowest, then they don't deserve to be there when you're at your highest. So instead of mourning those who left, be grateful for those who stayed. Instead of focusing on who walked away, focus on who stood by your side. Because true friends, they're rare, they're a blessing, and they're worth more than 1,000 fake ones. Trials are painful, but they are also necessary. They strip away the illusions, the pretenders, and the ones who were only in it for themselves. They leave you with something more valuable than numbers in your contact list. They leave you with real relationships, real connections, and a real understanding of who is truly in your corner. So don't be afraid of hard times. They may shake you, but they will also reveal who is willing to hold on. And once you know who your true friends are, cherish them, appreciate them, and never take them for granted. Because in a world full of temporary connections, real friendship is a rare and beautiful thing. Life has a way of pushing us to our limits. One moment everything is going smoothly, and the next we're hit with disappointments, betrayals, or unexpected struggles. In those moments, our emotions take over. We feel angry, hurt, frustrated, and sometimes even hopeless. The weight of what we're going through feels too heavy to carry, and we start to question everything. But here's the truth. If we live by our feelings, we will always be controlled by our circumstances. If we live by faith, we will be anchored in something greater. Feelings are temporary. They shift with situations. One day we're happy, the next we're overwhelmed. One moment we feel strong, the next we feel like giving up. But faith is different. Faith doesn't change based on emotions. Faith says, even though I don't see a way, I trust that God has one. Faith says, even though I feel alone, I know that God is with me. Faith says, even though this hurts, I believe something better is coming. The problem is, too often we let our feelings lead. We let pain convince us that we're stuck. We let fear stop us from taking risks. We let disappointment make us give up. And before we know it, we're living a life dictated by emotions rather than purpose. But God didn't call us to walk by feelings. Think about it. If Jesus had followed his feelings, he would have never gone to the cross. If he had let fear, pain, or betrayal dictate his actions, he would have walked away from his purpose. But he didn't. He trusted God's plan even when it was painful. He knew that his temporary suffering had a greater purpose. And that's the mindset we need to have. When we go through heartbreak, when people betray us, when life doesn't go the way we planned, we have two choices. We can either sit in our emotions, replaying the pain over and over, or we can stand on faith and believe that God is working even when we don't understand how. Because feelings will lie to you. They will tell you that you're not good enough, that things will never change, that you're alone. But faith reminds you that you are chosen, that you have a purpose, and that what you're going through is only temporary. And I know it's hard to have faith when everything around you is falling apart. It's hard to trust when the pain is real, when the loss is heavy, when the struggle seems never ending. But that's exactly when faith matters the most. Anybody can have faith when life is good. Anybody can trust God when everything is going their way. But real faith is tested in the fire. Real faith is believing even when you don't feel like it. Real faith is getting up every day and saying, I don't know how, but I know God will make a way. When you put faith over feelings, you take back control. You stop being a prisoner to your emotions. You stop making decisions based on temporary pain and start walking in purpose. You stop letting circumstances define you and start letting God lead you. It doesn't mean you ignore your feelings. It doesn't mean you don't acknowledge your pain. It means you don't let them drive your decisions. Feel what you need to feel, but don't stay stuck there. Process it, pray about it, and then move forward. Because no matter how bad today feels, God still has a plan for tomorrow. So the next time you feel like giving up, remember that feelings pass, but faith remains. The next time you feel like you're alone, remember that God is still with you. The next time life knocks you down, remember that it's not the end, it's just part of the journey. Walk by faith, not by sight. Trust that even in the middle of the storm, God is still in control. And when you do that, you'll realize that no matter how you feel, you are never without hope. Holding on to pain feels natural. When someone hurts you, betrays you, or takes advantage of your kindness, your first instinct isn't to forgive, it's to protect yourself, to build walls, to make sure they never get the chance to hurt you again. You replay the situation in your mind over and over, thinking about what you should have said, what you should have done, how unfair it was. And before you know it, that pain, that resentment, that anger, it's no longer just something you feel. It becomes something you carry. It weighs on you, it drains you, and worst of all, it keeps you stuck. But here's the truth. Forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you. See, when you refuse to forgive, you think you're holding the other person accountable, but in reality, you're holding yourself hostage. You're giving them free space in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit. They may have hurt you once, but by holding on to it, you're allowing that pain to keep hurting you again and again. And that's not what God wants for you. God tells us to forgive not because he wants us to excuse what was done to us, but because he wants us to be free. Free from bitterness, free from anger, free from the weight of carrying something that was never meant to define us. Forgiveness is not about saying what they did was okay. It's about saying they no longer have control over me. Think about it like this. Imagine walking around every day carrying a heavy backpack filled with bricks. Each brick represents a grudge, a betrayal, a moment of pain that you haven't let go of. At first, maybe you don't even notice the weight, but over time, it gets heavier. It slows you down. It drains your energy. And while you're struggling to carry all that weight, the person who hurt you, they're out there living their life, completely unaffected. They've moved on while you're still suffering. That's what unforgiveness does. It punishes you, not them. But when you choose to forgive, you're putting that backpack down. You're releasing yourself from the weight of the past. You're no longer letting someone else's actions dictate your peace. And that's powerful. That's freedom. Now let's be real. Forgiveness is not easy. It doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes the pain is so deep that the thought of forgiving feels impossible. But forgiveness isn't a one-time decision. It's a process. It's waking up every day and deciding, I will not let this control me anymore. It's choosing to move forward, even when your feelings want to hold you back. And let's talk about what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's not pretending like nothing happened. It's not allowing toxic people back into your life. You can forgive someone and still set boundaries. You can forgive someone and still recognize that they are not meant to be in your space. Forgiveness doesn't mean allowing someone to hurt you again. It means refusing to let their past actions have power over you any longer. Jesus showed us the ultimate example of forgiveness. Even as he was nailed to the cross, even as he was being mocked and betrayed, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. If he could forgive in his darkest hour, then surely we can find it in our hearts to forgive those who have wronged us, not because they deserve it, but because we deserve peace. And when you forgive, something amazing happens. You start to feel lighter. Your heart feels less burdened. You regain your joy, your energy, your ability to move forward. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it does change your future. It allows you to step into everything God has for you without being tied down by what's behind you. So, let go of the resentment. Release the bitterness. Not for them, but for you. Because the moment you choose forgiveness, you are no longer a prisoner to your pain. You are free. Distractions are everywhere. Every single day, there's something trying to pull you away from what truly matters, your purpose. It might be negativity from people who don't believe in you, fear whispering that you're not good enough, or even your own doubts making you question whether you're on the right path. But the truth is, if you don't stay focused, if you allow yourself to get caught up in everything around you, you'll never reach where you're meant to be. Purpose is not just about having a dream or a goal. It's about understanding that you were created for something greater. There's a reason you're here. There's something only you can do, something God placed inside of you that the world needs. But purpose requires focus. It requires discipline. It requires a commitment to push forward, even when distractions try to pull you away. One of the biggest enemies of focus is comparison. Too often, people lose sight of their own path because they're too busy looking at someone else's. They see someone else succeeding, and instead of being inspired, they feel discouraged. They wonder why their journey isn't moving as fast, why they haven't reached a certain level yet, why they're not as far along as they thought they'd be. But comparison is a thief. It will rob you of your confidence, your joy, and your ability to see what God is doing in your life. The truth is, everyone has their own journey. Your purpose is yours, not anyone else's. And what God has planned for you is not dependent on what someone else is doing. The only way to truly move forward is to keep your eyes on your path, not theirs. Because the moment you start looking to the side, you lose momentum. The moment you start focusing on someone else's success, you slow down your own progress. Another major distraction? People's opinions. If you spend your life trying to please everyone, you will never fully walk in your purpose. There will always be someone who doubts you, someone who doesn't understand your vision, someone who thinks you should be doing things differently. But you can't live for their approval. Purpose requires courage. It requires stepping out in faith, even when no one else sees the vision yet. It requires trusting that what God put in you is real, even when others question it. And let's talk about fear. Because fear is one of the biggest things that pulls people away from their purpose. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of stepping into the unknown. So many people never fulfill what they were meant to do because they let fear stop them before they even begin. But fear is just an illusion. It's a trick of the mind, a lie that tries to convince you that you're not capable. And the only way to overcome it is to move forward despite it. Staying focused on your purpose means understanding that obstacles will come. Challenges will arise. Not everyone will support you. Not every day will be easy. But purpose is bigger than temporary struggles. Purpose is what keeps you going when everything else tells you to quit. It's what wakes you up in the morning with fire in your heart, knowing that you have something to contribute to this world. Discipline is key. It's not enough to have a vision. You have to put in the work. You have to be consistent. You have to push past distractions and make daily choices that align with your purpose. Small actions repeated over time create success. Every decision you make either brings you closer to your purpose or pulls you further away. So ask yourself daily, is this helping me grow? Is this aligning with my goals? Is this leading me to the person I want to become? And above all, trust the process. Purpose isn't always a straight road. Sometimes you'll face detours. Sometimes things won't happen as fast as you want them to. But delays don't mean denial. Just because it's taking time doesn't mean it's not happening. Trust that God is guiding you, that every step you take is leading you exactly where you're meant to be. So stay focused. Keep your eyes on your own path. Tune out the noise. Let go of distractions. And commit to walking in your purpose with confidence. Because the world needs what you have to offer. And the only way to fulfill your purpose is to stay locked in, stay faithful, and never lose sight of the bigger picture.